My name is Carl Russell. I live in Bethel, Vermont at Earthwise Farm and Forest, and have a forestry consulting business, Russell Forestry Services, and I'm utilizing an iPad mini in my business and on the farm, and I'm going to show some of the apps and some of the ways that I'm using it for our farm and my business. There are a lot of things on the iPad mini that can be used on an iPhone. I happen to use an iPad mini because a lot of what I'm doing has to do with mapping, and I like to have the extra real estate on the screen. But many of the apps that I'll show you are things that can be loaded on an iPhone. Just to start right off, there's an app called Hour Keeper that I use regularly every day, keep track of, because I do so many different things for different clients and for myself on the farm. I have different accounts that I keep track of different enterprises, and it's merely a timesheet. I'm right now I'm working for myself, working with the kids are at the house, so I can clock out of that and go back to clients, work on Earthwise Farm and Forest chores, clock in. When I'm done with chores, I clock out, move on to the next client. It's a great tool. It gives me invoices for people I'm working for, or it can show me reports by the week or by the month, quarter, year, breaking it down into the percentages of time that I work in different enterprises. It's great for budgeting and trying to figure out some of those, where I spend my time. For the land management apps, I have a big array of them. When I use Adobe Reader on my iPad mini to carry maps with me that are maps that I'm working with. This is a map that I drew on the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources Atlas, and it has GIS layers on it. This shows soil type and contours of the property with roads, and if I wanted to, already there's layers here delineated, but if I have some other field data that I want to make a note of, I can blow the map up to where I am if I want to work in this field over here, and in Adobe it gives me a scribing tool, and I can actually draw a line around that. I can label it number 1 or whatever, or I could draw the road in, something like that. So that's a great tool for me to, and then when I'm done I can save the document as well, and it gives me a great way to keep track of maps, notes on different parts of the land that I'm working on. I have Word2Go for my forestry business. I have a management plan. I can open that document, and I can work in this document typing in any data that I need to change in the field or during an interview with the landowner or anything. And then I can upload this back to my computer. That way I don't have to have hand scribbled notes, and I try to spend the time at my desk to try to remember what it was I wanted to work on. So then I have a wider range of arrangement of other applications that I use at different times. Geo Measure is an app that can be on an iPad mini or on an iPhone. This is one that requires connectivity. So if I'm in the field with a cellular connection, I can zero in on the location where I am, and when the map loads, this is a map that you can use to measure area related to where you are, either by keeping track of where you walk, or you can dots on the edge of a field. If you wanted to be working on figuring out acreage for application of seed or fertilizer or something along those lines. You can also measure, so I have it set on acres there, so that little spot I just opened up is 2.8 acres. I can change it to hectares, square yards, square meters, square kilometers, or I can change it from area to distance. So I'd have to clear this. I'd switch this to distance, and it's in miles now. I change that to feet. If I wanted to be considering building fence, I can mark this fence line here, and it'll tell me 608 feet along that line, and I could determine my needs for fencing on that field. One is called GPS Kit HD. This is primarily made for iPhone. This is a GPS unit that keeps track of waypoints where you're traveling for something, and this could be also to keep track of boundaries on fields or trails in the woods, or if you're tracing a water line that went across the field or down from one dwelling to another, you could trace it on the map. It would keep track of it. So these are all the waypoints of a track that I did, showing the trails that I walked along, and then points of interest that I took throughout the stand of woodland, and then photographs associated with some of those that were pieces of special interest. Then these tracks are stored in GPX files, which can be downloaded from here and uploaded on another file for final mapping. GIS is a geographic information system for the tablet, and this one is actually for drawing details on a map, but it has lists of layers that you can keep track of, or classes of different types of waypoints that you would want. But if I wanted to get forestry or geology, there's lots of other little icons that can be used to add on there. This ArcGIS is a fairly powerful app that I had to pay for. With connectivity, I can access several atlases. The one that I use the most is one for the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources Atlas. I can go to the overview, to content, and then I can activate different layers. There's a lot of different layers in the Natural Resources Atlas. Waste management, a whole variety of things, then fish and wildlife, invasive plant inventories, rare, threatened, endangered, deer wintering yards. There won't be any here, but I can hit deer wintering yards, and then any mapped deer wintering yards will light up on here. I can turn on the soils layer, and the soils for this area will light up right away. So, and these are NRCS Soil Service codes for the soil, the mapping unit that's under here. Here I can actually turn on any tax map parcels that have been mapped. I have all of the boundaries of properties and local. So if this is the property I'm working on, then I can see where the property line is exactly. But the ArcGIS, I think it's one of those tools that, well, certainly for me, dealing with several different land, or more than, a bunch of different landowners, it's helpful for me to be able to pull up information like Class 2 wetlands or mapped deer yards or environmentally sensitive areas that have got that have been noticed by the Agency of Natural Resources, and then that helps me give people guidance. But even a farmer would, that's trying to decide what to do with a field, if they have direct access to the soils information right there in the field, it can be a real powerful tool. I think that what I kind of dream of is a tool that combines all of those things, so that, I mean, which it really, this is a dream tool. It combines all those things, but it isn't one app that can, and maybe there's a reason why they aren't all together, but that's kind of where I'm thinking of, is that you could be in a field, measure the distance in that field, record the distance of that field, of that map, of that edge of the field for a fence, have that in your data file for that field as a folder within a file for your farm, and be able to keep track of all that stuff on your iPhone, be able to sync it with your laptop when you get back to the farm, back to the office, turn on the laptop, open up the map, download the GPX files, and have all of that stuff available for office management.